Sing to the Lord, you who love God. There may be tears during the night, but joy comes in the morning. You change our despair into a dance. You strip us of our death shroud and clothe us with joy. That's why our hearts sing to you. That's why we can't keep silent.
Let's all stand and sing, Guide My Feet.
Guide my feet. with celebration. There's room in this room for celebration. There's room even for happy, as it turns out. There's room for dancing. There's, of course, room for singing. But there's room here also for sadness. There's room for tears. And there is a time and place for all of those things. And as we gather this morning, they are all here. They're all here. And we welcome it all. This was Sheila's church. Here's Sheila's people. Her family, her friends, her congregation, her colleagues, her fellow singers, laughers, dancers. Here we are together now. The only thing that's wrong this morning is that Sheila would have loved seeing all of us together. She would have loved hearing all of this music. She would have loved seeing all of you in your colors. So we offer it all of it. To Sheila and to the God who made Sheila, we trust that love always has the final word. Light shines in the darkness, but darkness does not overcome it. So big thanks to all who put this service together. Thank you all for making music. Thanks in particular to our special musicians this morning, fiddlers and friends and family and more. Thank you to Valerie Shanley and her team who put the reception on downstairs. Please do not leave walking out our front doors. Please go straight downstairs to continue the celebration down there. Thanks to Lorraine Charbonneau for putting together this amazing PowerPoint this morning. Thanks to the Westminster Choir and to Christopher Price, our music director, and thanks for all for joining in this morning. One word of guidance, just so we don't do logistics later. Everybody have one of these? We have a little orchestrated time for turning them on. You'll see notes in the program about when your moment comes. But here's how you turn it on. You turn the candle at the top. Everybody got it? Do we need a practice? All of us together, let's see if we can do it. 1, 2, 3, on. Oh, it's going to be great when that happens. Okay. Anybody need a candle? We've got ushers at the back who can rush to your aid should there be a need. Okay. Well, with that, let's continue. Continue, of course, in song with the Falconer. Welcome to the Westminster Choir and friends.
reading today is a psalm for Sheila. Search us, O God, and find our heart. Restore it to the place that we may be whole. Help us in our pain. Emptiness follows us all our days, every waking moment of void of grief. We cannot sleep. Dreams are deafening in silence. Life stretches out a never-ending valley of featureless shadows. Anger and sadness lay traps for dragging feet. Come to us in our grief, O God, Almighty, who spins the whirling heavens, who knows each blade of grass and cares for each bird. We cry to you. Let us feel joy again. Show us the way to life. You created order of chaos, yet nothing is random in your eyes. Help us see the beauty of unexpectedness, pivots in plans, the win of time together even when the outcome is lost. Open our spirits to color again. Lift our souls, cradle us close, breathe life into us again. Right now we cannot see daylight. All is covered in shadows, blurry tendrils of fog swirl and bite. Oh, let us live. You alone can show the path, fluttering butterflies sweeping aside the mist. Death is part of life, life of death. In you, random is order, chaos to us is beauty to you.
afternoon, everyone. You know, as you might imagine, it was a lot of fun to be Sheila Holroyd's pastor. We talked most Sundays, before and often after the service too, and our conversation both before and after the service often began with Sheila saying to me, "I'm so happy." And then, of course, went on to point out the new socks that she was wearing, or to tell me that her father's birthday was coming up in another month and a half, or the Sunday before she died, Sheila was particularly happy. She was really bubbling. She's always bubbling. She was really bubbling with the news that she was going to stay with Andrea that coming weekend while her parents traveled to Rochester. I'm so happy. You know, Presbyterians joke about how they like to do things decently and at work. But the truth behind those jokes is we do like things to go well. And we cringe a little inside when they don't. And that Sunday, that last Sunday that Sheila was with us for worship, well, things didn't quite go perfectly. We had a communion Sunday that morning, and as I was standing at our communion table, and as I began the communion service, I looked down and I realized that our two beautiful silver shining communion chalices were both empty. There was no grape juice, anything else in them. After a few moments of confusion, one of the deacons found the pitcher of grape juice at the back of the aisle and sort of sheepishly walked down that really long aisle there as everybody watched, and we all kind of decided to leave, and the service continued, only to realize at some point there was another deacon walking down the aisle, that time with the loaf of bread, which somehow we had also overlooked. Both times this happened, we just sort of paused and we restarted the liturgy, and, well, let's just say, they were little mistakes, but the service that morning wasn't perfect. Now, throughout the scriptures, throughout the Bible, there are instructions to people to offer God the finest things they have. An animal in their herd that is the most perfect, the fruit of their harvest that is without any blemish whatsoever. We're told in Scripture that priests, those who walk into the holiest of holy parts of the temple, well, those are supposed to be men who don't have any physical flaws at all, no mental ailments, no problems whatsoever. And I do know the impulse behind those teachings. I also want to give God the best of what I have. And I so often associate perfection with value. I equate perfection with beauty. I think there's something in us about that. Picking apples with children last week, without prompting, they wanted to find the most perfect apple on the tree to offer to me. But you know, at the very beginning of the Bible, in the first creation story in Genesis, when God creates heaven and earth, God doesn't look at the world and say that it's perfect, right? God looks at the world, regards all of it, and you know what God says? God says it's good. God says it's good. And by the end of it, God says it's very good. And you know, it is. It's hard to find an apple without a spot. It's hard to find a leaf that hasn't been nibbled. It's hard to find a tree without a broken limb. It's hard to find a person without some kind of bruise or limp or tick or foible. It turns out that just about everything we love is imperfect. And you know, when we recognize that, it helps us love our own imperfect selves. All of it. All of us are made in the image of God, who looks at all of it, at all of us, and declares, And so it was a gift, a real gift, to serve Sheila communion on that last morning that she was worshiping here. That morning when things didn't go quite right. I gave her that bread and gave her the cup to dip that bread in, and she gave us the gift of her smile and the reminder that things that aren't exactly perfect, the things that don't go exactly as planned, well, those things are worth offering to God. Because those things, those people are beloved by God. They are the image of God. We are holy. So friends, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate Sheila's life, and let's grieve her death, and then let's go out of here to go love some more imperfect people. Let's find God in imperfect places, and let's honor our own bent and broken holy selves, trusting that there is goodness at the heart of all of God's creation. Amen. The remembrances this morning will continue with coffee.
Hold this. Maybe take my heels off, squat a little bit. Sheila was the heart of our home. She was the embodiment of selfless giving and unconditional love. She cheered us all in any of our pursuits, and she stood at the center of our hearts and home. She loved playing board games, playing with abandon, and never caring if she won. If she was playing with her family, that was the win. She had no clue how to strategize, so her playing style was soon dubbed the ranting factor. In a few games that she played on her own, that was when her ranting factor introduced strange outcomes. Everyone else played by the rules and understood strategy, but then Sheila would make her move, which often created chaos in others' Dad's strategic plans. Other times she would team up with someone else. Her team was the fun team, each and every time. She adored visits from her cousin Becky and Lewis because she could direct them in all of the on-the-spot plays she would create. The laughter that ensued when this was going on could be heard all over the house. She loved her Aunt Susan and Uncle Glenn for the dignity, respect, and love they exuded in her presence. Oh, you're right in my line. That's perfect. She adored her first cousin Rose and looked forward to her yearly visits, vibrating with excitement while waiting for her turn to talk. During summer camping trips with various cousins and friends and family, impromptu wiffle ball games, loosely based on baseball, would become Calvin ball. These games had older teenage children picking up the little ones and running them around bases, sometimes starting at third base, then on second, to first and home, while those in the infield accidentally kicked a barely hit ball into the outfield. Laughter erupted frequently during the game, and everyone was happy, especially Sheila. Her family was having fun and expressing joy. How could we not adore this very special, dynamic force to be reckoned with in our life? Her physical growth was hampered by her extra chromosome and all the medical conditions she had beyond her Down syndrome, but the internal drive and force of her personality made up for a lot of deficits. Cliches may be trite, but God does not make mistakes was never a true statement when it came to Sheila. While everyone around her was supporting, encouraging, and assisting her throughout her life, she was teaching everyone that interacted with her so many things. She taught us patience, she taught us to be kind to one another, she taught us forgiveness, she taught us to advocate for her and for others. She taught us to live in the moment, and most of all, she loved unconditionally, teaching us through the power of her love. think Amanda is next. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, by the way.
Hi everybody. I was friends with Sheila starting all the way back in high school. I was the new kid, and when I first started, I saw this little munchkin of a thing bouncing her way into the choir room. It was the very first time I ever met her, and as time progressed, I started making friends with a lot of the friends that she had, and I learned how lovable a personality she had, how adventurous she was, and how fearless she was. One of my biggest memories from that time was her 16th birthday party, the same year that we met. We held a birthday party for her that she knew nothing about. She was so excited. We had cupcakes and watched movies, and she loved absolutely every minute of it. A couple weeks later, she made us all cards thanking us for coming to her party and for celebrating with her. Still to this day, I have mine locked away in my memory box with all the rest of my high school memories almost 20 years ago. I also, several years later, had the pleasure of being reintroduced to her coming back from COVID at my current job at the day program. At first, I was a little confused when I saw her name. I'm like, I can't get this in person. But then I heard her talking. And I said, yep, that's her. She had one of the most bubbly personalities, just like she did back in high school. Not a single thing changed. She was just as lovable and energetic and adventurous at program as she was. She loved to play bingo and got very excited and was extremely proud of herself every time she got to shout out bingo. Her favorite activity, however, was dance party. She loved to dance and listen to the music, and she never had a short request list of songs to play. She also enjoyed exercise group that we started to do, and when we were able to not have to do it through Zoom, and we could all collect together in the same room, as soon as the music started playing, off she went. Didn't matter how far to the back she was right up there, front and center, shaking it with everything she had. Everybody knew her by her exuberant personality, and everybody loved her just the same. It's unfortunate that she's no longer able to celebrate with us, but we've definitely made sure that everything we've done since has been in her honor. And we know that she's with us every day, saying how excited and happy she is to be with every single one of us. Thank you.
I've known the Holroyd family for 40 years. We grew up together. We grew our families together. I didn't really know them until Sheila and I became friends. I think Sheila was 12 years old. And we, at the Old Songs organization that we were all part of, we were a community, and it didn't matter, we didn't know one another, we'd say hi, we were family. And she was about 12, and every year Old Songs would put on an event at Christmas called Noel Sing Me Clear. And I said to Sheila, would you like to be on my crew? Yes. And I gave her the job of handing out programs when people came in. And it was the first time I got to hear Sheila say, "I'm so happy." And I don't think a single time since that I've been with Sheila, she hasn't said that. And so every year, Sheila was on my crew, and she handed out those programs and made everybody in the audience happy. And then we started becoming closer friends. We'd see each other at concerts. We would see each other at the barn for the staff event at Old Songs. She would save a seat for me down front, sometimes with Mom and Colleen and Andrea, but there was always a seat for me. And we would see the concert. One time, she said, "That's my favorite." Joe James. That's my favorite. She, as everyone is saying, is so full of joy. And I have to admit, I wasn't particularly the supervising adult. I was her friend. We had fun together. And that was the special magic of our relationship. We were buddies. As a matter of fact, when I would come in, or the Holroyd family would come in to an Old Songs event, Sheila would point to me, so excited, saying, "That's my friend." And I felt that too. We had so much fun together. So, I don't know if I have more to say than that, except what an incredible gift it was to feel such joy in the company of another human being. So I want to thank Nancy and Forrest and Andrea and Colleen for the love that you showed that girl and the love I felt among you. It's made my life a much better place. So I'll end with a quote from Bob Franke, who's one of our Old Songs people. And he said, "Death is part of being human. Loving humans has a cost. Nothing that we do for love is ever lost."
Dad, you're not gonna come like it. Take off your shoes.
I guess you got it for me. Okay, I have two stories. Well, maybe 2.5 stories. Stay alive, Sheila. But understand these stories. You must also know that Sheila was basically nonverbal. Yeah, maybe I'll get to this. She was basically nonverbal until she was 7 years old. And she then needed many more years of extensive speech therapy before she could easily communicate verbally. We thank her first wonderful speech language therapist, Maureen Sheila, for starting that. But years later, we also complained to her that she forgot to install the off button. It's very easy to equate lack of verbal ability with lack of understanding, but that would be a mistake. During this long non-verbal period, we would often play children's songs in the car. And there was one favorite that was played all the time, to the point that Sheila's sisters had it memorized. And you can imagine how we felt. Fast forward about 5 or 10 years, I'm not quite sure exactly how long actually, but to a time when Sheila could talk. During this interval, that particular children's tape had somehow become lost. But someone found it again, and of course had to play it again. And there was Sheila, reciting all the words in time with the music. She had clearly little bit earlier, but was unable to express that. So, I can't see what's on the Jumbotron right now, but it should be a picture of our two kids waiting for the bus. The first time they were actually doing this together, whatever it was. So this story is the story of the bus. During this limited communication period, Sheila would ride the school bus with her big sister Andrea. But unfortunately, the bus route that included us was the bus route from HEM. Because ours is a small district, the bus included all children K through 12th grade, and a very wide socioeconomic mix. The potential for trouble was high, very high, and this bus had it big time. It was loud with a lot of misbehavior. There were kids pulling knives and lighting cigarette lighters in the face of other kids. It was bad, but we didn't know that initially. You can't blame the bus driver, because this was early 90s, before they started placing babies on buses. Now this was in the fall. Throughout the previous summer, Sheila also attended school, and the school would send a very small school bus to pick up Sheila in our driveway. Soon after Sheila began riding the big bus in the fall with Big Sister, she also started signing with her limited communication skills to again ride the little bus. She was not able to tell us why. Without that knowledge, we tried to tell her we could not ask that of the school district, and it was a privilege and honor for her to ride the big bus with all the older kids. But there soon came a time that this was too much for her. The loud noises were far more than her sensitive hearing could handle, and the misbehavior in general was more than she could tolerate. So she started hiding under the seat. And that gave opportunity for some to start kicking her, which the bus driver could not see. Of course, Sheila retaliated. He wouldn't. But the bullies then complained that Sheila was hitting them without telling the whole story, knowing that Sheila could not tell her side. When we heard about this, we knew there was more to the story, because we knew this was not typical for Sheila. Andrea was able to give a lot more information, and that's when we found out just how bad this was. The school district also conducted their own investigation. A conference quickly ensued. Attending were both of us, Nancy with her RN, and me with a PhD in physics, the district superintendent and school building principal with all their excellent qualifications, and Sheila. We discussed the problem and many possible solutions, each with their pros and cons, and came to two conclusions. First, the general behavior on the bus was the district's problem, which they had to address ASAP. But meanwhile, for Sheila's safety, they would also send a little bus for her alone while Andrea still rode the big bus. On the way out of the building, before we reached the car, we asked Sheila if she understood what just happened, and she answered, including two of her own made-up signs. Little bus. Yes! Okay, now I can't see the Jumbotron again. The next picture is on there. That outfit might be one that she wore during the second story here, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, the second story happened even earlier, when Sheila was in kindergarten, part of her nonverbal theory, and illustrates Sheila's wicked sense of humor. Hence the picture. It's the story of the DAC unit, which was an early computer from the early 90s, big enough to occupy an entire child's desk. The top surface had a very large number of buttons, each of which could be programmed to say single words or short phrases. There was enough space around each button to accommodate an overlay sheet on which the teacher could add words or pictures for what each button would say. There was one button among them called the a teacher toggle button, which looked like all the others, but allowed the teacher to assign multiple words or phrases to each of the other buttons. And by changing the overlay sheet and that toggle button, they could address many different topics such as colors, food, feelings, etc. All kinds of other things too. Okay? So one day, the teaching assistant was working with Sheila on colors, but was called away briefly. Upon returning, she asked Sheila, "Show me the color brown." Sheila touched the button that was clearly brown. "I feel sad." "Wait, what?" The TA tried that button herself. "I feel sad." So the TA went away to get the teacher, saying there was something wrong with the document. There was crosstalk between levels, but she knew the machine was broken. Upon returning, she asked again, Sheila, "Show me the color brown." Sheila touched the brown button. "Brown." The two adults turned away to discuss the situation. And they were thinking, of course, that there may be something wrong with the machine, but they needed more information. "Let's try another button." They turned back and asked Sheila, "Show me the color green." Sheila touched the button labeled green. "Carrots." Well, now we know it's not just one button. Probably could happen to any button. We needed to somehow contact the manufacturer to see what could be done about it. While they were discussing this, they also kept an eye on Sheila. And there she was, with an enormous grin on her face, operating a teacher toggle.
They were in tune when we bought them.
put you in the hole, Mom?
Nope, you're gonna stand there. This is the only way.
It takes a village to raise a child. Regardless of Sheila's actual age, she always had the wonder of a child. I can't tell you how many doctors, nurses, therapists, teachers, aides, administrators, program managers, service coordinators, and an enormous number of friends that were included in Sheila's village, in addition to family and extended family. And it never stopped growing. It all started, of course, with Mom, or as Sheila would often say, Mom! Sheila's family was always important to her, and all of us cared for her and helped her, while also being beneficiaries of her unconscious and uncompromising love and generosity. But Sheila's understanding of family included an extended family, not only relatives near and far, but also close friends that we saw frequently or infrequently. Time and distance didn't matter to Sheila. Everything from memories of any age to future expectations was always in the present. She tried so hard in everything she did, and recognized none of her limitations. Her ability to empathize was extraordinarily fine. The church was always there, of course, every step of the way. And although we didn't join this church until Sheila was 17, her circle of newfound friends continued to grow. And don't forget the cats. They were part of Sheila's family too. She was inexpressibly proud when one of our cats chose her lap or her bed at night to curl up on for a nap. We didn't always know who was included in Sheila's village. People we did not know would often greet Sheila by name in a store or parking lot, and only afterward tell us who they were and how they knew Sheila. That happened more times than I can count. And even though Sheila did not have an internet account of any kind, word spread there also. We would hear how Sheila affected their lives as well. That there was one organization of friends that has been with us and Sheila right from the beginning, starting with the first concert or dance shortly after Sheila's birth, and that is Old Songs. We found there an incredible and wonderful level of support that has continued to this day. So as we sing this next song, one of Sheila's favorites, that she loved to sing in her own nearly monotonic way, the expanding light of her influence symbolizes the ever-expanding village that developed around her. We started with Mom, of course, and had family, and extended family on verse 2. The third verse, and all who have attended any Old Songs event or are associated with Old Songs in any way. Everyone joins for the remainder. And as you join as individuals, you light your candle. You may stand and sing as you wish, including in Sheila's monotone, if that's what you can do. Because each person in Sheila's village offered help in their own way. That was not always something we asked for. That was something they could give. And they were right. We needed that, and Sheila needed it also. After these candles are lit, we do one verse of Silent Night. Why? That was another of Sheila's favorites. She loved the candles and the song. And since she didn't care about or understand at the time, it's appropriate that we do this for her, regardless of the season. So this song is for Sheila.
Give light, and people will find a way. Give light, and people will find a way. Give light, and people will find a way. People will find a way, I do believe.
What's the next verse?
Come together. and people will find a way. Come together, and people will find a way. Come together, and people will find a way. People will find a way, I do believe. Give love, and people will find a way. Give love, and people will find a way. Give love, and people will find a way. People will find a way, I do believe. Dance together, and people will find a way. Dance together, and people will find a way. Dance together, and people will find a way. People will find a way, I do believe. Give light, and people will find a way. Give light, and people will find a way. Give light, and people will find a way. People will find a way to believe. Jeannie, Jeannie. Night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round young virgin, mother and child. Holy is so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Not done yet.
With Sheila, there is always one more story. And before I continue listening to that, tissue, please. Okay, yeah, I need tissue, please. Thank you, long arms. All right. As I said, with Sheila, there was always one more story. And actually, several of you requested that this story be shared today. This encounter took place after I graduated from seminary, but before I had a church of my own, and so it's when I still knew everything. So this is Ministry Defined by Sheila. Sheila always greeted me when I entered the kitchen in the morning. It wouldn't matter that I would be sleep groggy and may not answer with more than a Every morning she started talking about the fabulous things that she was going to do that day. It was always fabulous, and this morning was no different. Good morning, Andrea, she declared. Good morning. I was more eloquent than average that day. Andrea, guess what? She didn't wait for a response because she knew me well. I'm doing ministry today. Suddenly I woke up. What did she mean by that? Does she even know what ministry is? That's a higher order concept, complete with abstractions. People with Down syndrome have a hard time with abstract concepts. How did she come to the conclusion that she was doing ministry? I was so confused.
not doing Salvation Army today. I'm doing ministry. She was very insistent. I decided if I wasn't sleep-fogged, I'd be reinforcing her label for her activity. So I asked her to tell me about her day at dinner time. I figured either she would remember and tell me, or we would chalk this morning's conversation down the Sheila says the darndest thing as a category and get out of our lives. Needless to say, I had a long day at work, and I forgot my too early in the morning promise to Sheila. But never fear, though. Sheila remembered. Sheila always remembered. And this time she remembered that she had to tell me about how she did ministry. And so at a lull in the dinner conversation, she piped up, I did not do cooking group today. I did something different. Of course, at that point, I remembered my promise. I clued the rest of the family into what Sheila had been saying that morning, and so we all asked her what she had done that day. Ministry. I did ministry. Salvation Army Day. Now, as we said earlier, Sheila was in a day program, and one of the things that this program does is they take the clients out into the community and they do various different things. But despite the very good service that the agency provides, I don't think that they would have labeled it ministry. Is that right? Yeah, no. But there she was, insisting that on this day she did ministry. We asked her what she did for her ministry. I put the forks in the napkins. Very literal. We asked her why she put the forks in the napkins. So they can get more people in. That's very true, Mama said. If you prepare everything beforehand, they can get more people in. What is special about these people? They eat there. Yes, that's true. Why do they need to eat there, Sheila? We were all very intent, wondering what Sheila's answer would be. Did she understand ministry? Sheila took a large
Sana mjikite influence. Yote mfasaha mstay.